Okay, I'm not going to review here too much. I'm just going to try and hit some things that we haven't talked about yet. Accessing initializers. I did document the fact that we can have an empty initializer that initializes. Can also have an initializer that's basically two strings. It has the same signature, but we can do that because when you use initializers methods in general, you must provide a name, and on the outside you have to use that name external, unless there are ways to get around it. You put an underscore on it and then you don't have to put the name on it, but I kind of like the names. If you're inside and the parameter last name, first name is the same as the property name, then you designate the property with the self. We talked about that briefly. Computed properties, I stole the example we did in class. Full name string, and then we can also set the full name, but then we'd have to put some code in here to split it, and we fought with that. And then discovered the trim function that doesn't work very well, and I think Paul and I sat and looked at substring functions for another half hour. They didn't do that very well yet either. All my favorite stuff, string functions and date classes, are not implemented yet, and if they don't do it, maybe that'll be our challenge to build our own date class and our own string additions. What I would also love to know is how do I take those extensions that we defined, can I put those in a separate file and suck them in? That would be nice, because then we create a string extensions, just suck those in and change the string class every time. You don't have to look them up now unless you're bored. Okay, this is something we haven't done yet. These will set, did set, or did we do that? Okay, so in here, I can now write observers. Observers watch. Okay, and I still haven't completely set up the logic for this yet. All right, go ahead if you need to. Should I use will set or should I use did set? Because I'm not quite sure how to cast exceptions inside those. Say, don't do this. Don't change it. Right? If I put something in will set and say, don't change it, I mean, is there a way to bypass the did set? I don't know. But these are where we can add code to do the validation. What we still have to figure out, I think did set might be the right solution. In did set, we might want to put something in there that says, this value is not acceptable, display a message. Okay? We learned briefly about the assert function earlier. You can put an assert in. Unfortunately, the assert, if it's true or false, it crashes my program, and I don't want to do that. So what I have yet to figure out is how do I put in exception handling in here. But this is where I would do it. So let's just do a quick example. Here's my class, and here's my variable last name. Okay, and can I initialize it? Don't think I can initialize it if I do that. I might be able to. Let's try it. Curly brackets. Nope. But if I do an int or a string, still not real happy. And now it says you're not done yet. Okay, and then inside here I can do either or both. So I'm just going to do a did set to start. Okay, and then inside here, I'm always checking my syntax, I can put in some code. Notice if you designate, you can designate the new value. Actually, this would be this is going to, I don't need a new value here. This should be old value. Let's take a look here. If my last name equals the empty string, curly bracket. I love how they line those up. And then I can print a message saying don't leave the name blank. And then what I'm thinking I can also do is say that last name equals the old value. Thought it was old value. Isn't that what the book said? I don't have the book. Inheritance is beyond where I want to go. Methods, properties, methods, instance methods. I don't think I want methods. Observers, was that on the list? No. Okay. Will set, did set, old value. Right there. You can name the parameter if you wish or use old value in did set. Well, it's not giving me an error.
Capitalized. There's an error on 63 though.
Yeah, I think maybe because I don't have a return statement in here yet.
Doesn't the S have to be capitalized in did set?
Ha! Good. Now I have an if statement, doesn't like. If last name is also got a capital N. There we go. Do I need the return? No. All right, so what I think this does is if I put a name in there, and I've done that, right? Because here for instructor, I put in Joe Davis. Right? If I then change the last name to the empty string, it'll yell at me and then put the old value back in again. In other words, leave it alone. And at this stage, instructor's got Voker in it, because I changed some more here. Oh, Adam, that's okay, that's different. Instructor has got Joe Davis, and then it got changed to Voker Gall. Okay, so instructor, I'm going to give up here. Last name equals the empty string. Now let's look at my console output. Don't leave the name blank. So I got my message. Now the question is down here. Oh, I messed with last name. That's fine. Because that's where I put the validation. It's a good thing I put it in the last name. Okay. So the new instructor name is Gall. I put it back again. And if I change this to make it Smith, then I don't get the message and the new instructor name is Smith. So that's how those work. That's the first time I played with them, so that worked out better than I thought it might.
In an actual program, is there some sort of version of try catch to get?
That's what I was saying. It's exception handling. There is definitely exception handling in the GUI version of this stuff, because I can then in the exception handler throw something up on the screen. Right. The try catch here, I would want to throw an exception that displays something, or do what we did here, just fix it. Right, but the print line displays, but we don't have any other options for output here, right? In a GUI, we have all kinds of options for output. Exclamation marks, error, change the background color, whatever we want to do. Here we don't have much flexibility, but here we could say change the background color of the text box that accepts the last name to bright red and go. Or throw up a message box type thing. We can do all that. All right. Last thing I want to talk about very briefly is I'm going to change the name of this class to person, or maybe I should just build a new one. Yeah, I think I'm going to build a new one. Let's close this. And make a new class. And I'll put both of these up on OneDrive. So in here I want to create a new class. Help me with the syntax. Class person, curly bracket. A person has a first name and a last name, and we can do all that other stuff. Okay, what am I doing wrong? Oh, I have to initialize them. And so let's come down here and create an init. With a first as a string and a last as a string. I'm not sure where that purple one with a capital T is coming from. Guy's supposed to be helping me. What am I doing wrong?
Variables as strings.
Thank you. Are you happy now? Yes. Okay, so there's my person class. Inheritance says I can now use this as the base class, is what it's called. The base class of another class. What's always been confusing to me in inheritance is that the base class is called a superclass. And the new one that I create is called a subclass. Well, you would think if the new one has more capabilities that it would be the super and this would be the sub, but it's not, it's the other way around. I think of super as more powerful than the sub, but it's not the way it works. Right. So now I can create another class based on this one. Class student that is based on the person class. And what should we add to a student?
ID.
ID. Okay, so they have a ID number, which is also a string. Yeah, I don't know why you guys aren't up here typing. This is getting ridiculous. Okay, var string, there we go. Don't move to a new line, just go to the end. I gotta figure out how to do that. There we go. Actually, it's end arrow, I think does it, but, or no, command arrow. That's what it is. Moves me to the end of the line. I just don't know how to do that. See? Works. Just got to remember. Then in here, I can define my own init for this class. Init. And I want to send in the ID. When you do an init in a subclass, because remember this is the subclass, one of the first things you do is tell the super to do its init. And what's interesting is I can, because I have to when I use this, there's only one in it, right? I have to send it a first and last name. I can actually send it in here. And so here, I can say first, this would be interesting. That's not going to work, is it? Because this is called first, so let me just, I got a feeling this is not going to work. Here, I put in F, oops. Come on, getting a little too much help today. And here I put L, I'm pressing escape to get rid of that list. So this says initialize my superclass, and then set my ID equal to the ID that got sent in.
Self.id.
I did what?
Self.id.
Thank you. What's wrong with you?
The string in the middle for the F is on.
property self-ID is not initialized. Why would it be? I'm not done yet.
You have to do the super init last.
Don't think so.
I have the same thing and I'm not getting an error.
You have exactly the same thing that I
Well,
have?
probably not, but I'm looking right now.
Oh, maybe because I have the order wrong up here? Let's try
I
that.
have the order the same.
I know, but I'm still gonna try it.
Well, it says it's not initialized at super.init call.
And it shouldn't be. Because the ID is not part of the superclass, it's part of the subclass. Now it's happy. Is it because there's an extra comma? Why aren't you complaining about that? And now it's not happy. Property self-ID is not initialized.
So try moving the self ID equals ID.
Yeah, move it up, right? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. Now that I think about it though, in most of these Objective-C code that we wrote last year, the super command is always last. We do all our local stuff and then the super command. We don't always build a lot of subclasses like this. But now that I've built this, what's interesting is I can say this, create a instance called Neil that is equal to a new student. And then I have to provide 3 pieces of information. His first name, notice that F here is pretty lame, but I should be able to just do Neil. And then Bartelt, and then 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think you need the actual names. Actual.
Good guess, but wrong. Bad access code. Not much help. Don't think there needs to be a space here, but maybe. Whoa. Shut up. Got our guest snide comment maker. All right, so now I have a instantiation of that. Now if I want to change Neil's name, let's misspell it here just for grins. Now it's not legal. What did I do? My help is not much help. It went away, didn't it? Oh, I hate when it does that. All right, and now down here I can say Neil as a student, his first name is equal to Neil. Right? But there's no first name in student. Yes, there is because it's embedded in person. And so whenever you create a subclass, it inherits all of the properties, all of the methods, all of the computed properties, everything that's in here is included in person. A person doesn't necessarily have an ID number, but a student does. A person has a birth date, so I could add a birth date property up here. And then set Neil's birth date down here a little bit later. Come on. I made them vars, yes, yes. I don't know what it's complaining about. By the way, I did mention that 6.1 is out there. Whether that would resolve this issue or I can figure out what's wrong, we'll see. But this is the concept. Right? That I can create one class based on another. So I don't have to repeat when I'm doing instructor. Remember we had first name, last name in both classes. That's fine. But I don't have to repeat them if I create a person class, something that's more generic, then I can inherit it. And this inheritance can go even further. Okay, and I can create a graduate class. That is a student that inherits from student, which inherits from person, and it just keeps chaining all the way back. So now my graduate class also includes a first name and a last name. I wanted the concepts in your head. I've been reading the stuff on inheritance in the book, and it is just making my brain hurt of all the different things that you can do and all the different ways to put them together. And if Adam were here, he'd probably tell us that all those classes and all the inheritances are already there. And how do you know that the graduate has a first name or a last name? We hit the dot notation here, and our editor is telling us here's what's embedded inside of there. God, I hope you're using a smart IntelliSense type editor that gives you all that list. Otherwise, you've got to know it. Again, I've been saying this for 1.5 years now. You were so lucky. We have these editors with IntelliSense that tell us all the properties, all the methods, everything that's inside a class. So you don't have to have this dictionary at your side with all that stuff in it so that you know how to communicate with a class that somebody else has built. It's all built in.
You do not need the super initializer and class student.
I believe you do.
I thought you could just put first name and last name and edit it just like that.
First name, last name equals, you mean?
Yeah. So first name equals F and last name equals L.
Might be able to do that. What's that parenthesis doing? Oh, it's left over. Didn't particularly like that, did it? I'm not done yet, but. Nope. So if you're using this subclassing, then you have to initialize the super somehow. What might be better is for me to come up here and create an empty initializer and say first name equals the empty string, last name equals the empty string, and then down here I can just say super init. Be done with it.
But now you still have to set the first and last name.
No, I shouldn't have to,
Oh, okay.
because I'm using a different, and maybe this is the problem, because I'm sending those in, but I'm not using them. That shouldn't cause any trouble. What is going on with my keyboard here? And I'm still getting errors down below. I'll take a look at it. I got 2 hours, nothing else to do but grading. But I'll take a look at it. I will post both of my playgrounds up on OneDrive, so if you want to get a copy of them, you can. But inheritance is not required, though you could try it with the homework assignment I gave you. I solved it without. So take a look at it.